Coming to you live from Nakatomi Plaza, it's the 10 Point Podcast Season 4 finale. My name is Bruce, and we are just another three Scots who saw too many movies as children, orphans of a bankrupt culture who think we're Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, or Kevin Hart. On this radio channel with me this week, first, all things being equal, he'd rather be in Philadelphia. It's Chris.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Ah, rude straight away.
And secondly, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to cook you, and I'm going to eat you. It's Andy.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
The sniff in response. I think that was probably the hardest I laughed during Die Hard, was when he was in the fight with long-haired blonde German, and he shouted those three things.
You know what, it's funny you said that. I've never heard him say that before until
Same.
this time I watched it.
Yeah. I've never...
I was actually pissed myself.
Love that German.
And for the record, my character naming throughout this is pretty much just going to be like German with whatever describes how they looked beforehand, or terrorist with that as well. I know very few names. We are the 10 Point Podcast, as I said at the start. You can hear us wherever you get podcasts. I'm not going to list all the apps, but every single podcast app ever, you can find us on there. You can get us on social media on Facebook and on Twitter. We are 10 Point Podcast on there. Use all letters, don't use numbers for that. Send us messages. You want to hear from our 5 fans, the 5 people in the world that we are the most listened to podcast of 2021. Let us know who you are and why why you listen to so much of us and more than anybody else.
And also, don't blame us.
Well, yes, exactly. Yeah. And anybody else
getting the big explosions.
Anybody else who does want to send us any messages, whether it be complaints or otherwise, you can send them at the same places. Join our cult over at 10pointpodcast.com, where all your 10 Point Podcast stuff is, and you can contact us directly with emails and donations and all that. And I think that's everything I say. Oh, YouTube, where YouTube videos are available too. And this is the last one of the season, as I mentioned, so we will have a little break for the next month-ish, and then we will be back for the next season, but more on that at the end of the episode. What have we been watching in the last week? Andy tells me he has been and seen, or been gone, stayed, saw something new in the last week. So what is the new thing you've seen, Andy?
One's gone wrong.
What?
One's gone wrong?
Ron's Gone Wrong, I believe, yes. Animated, yeah?
Yeah. Zach Galifianakis and some other people that I can't actually remember. Ed Helms. It's basically like a Hangover cast, but as in animated.
Hangover for kids.
Yeah, pretty good. Not as good as that Netflix, whatever it's called, animated thing where it was them versus a bunch of other shit.
Was that
Similar.
the Mitchells versus the Machines? Because Chris was
Aye.
raving
Oh,
about
that. Oh, yeah, that's all right.
It's pretty much like that, but with a cute robot. Kind of like Baymax.
Oh! Got you. I know what you're on about now.
Aye.
Okay.
It's pretty fun. That's all I've got on it. Can't really spoil it.
Yeah, fair enough. Anything you watched last week? Oh, Ron's gone. I remember it was. I'm a Man United fan. This is one for Chris and anyone who likes football was watching. When the Cristiano Ronaldo transfer to Man United happened, it wasn't going very well. I kept seeing buses with Ron's Gone Wrong driving past me all the time, and I thought the world has it in for me here, abusing me for my Man United fandom here. But anyway, Chris, what have you watched in the last week?
I've watched absolutely hee-haw, to be honest. I haven't watched anything since Hawkeye episode 3.
I've watched 3.
And I'm watching
not
4 tonight.
4.
All right, 4's good.
We talk about 3. I was iffy on it, and then the car chase in episode 3, I'm like, okay, I'm all in. And then the teasings of the uncle has to be interested as well. So those two combined, I'm like, okay, I'm now interested.
I
in
like
Hawkeye.
it. Oh, it's now probably one of my favourite Marvel TV series.
I don't know, it's slightly behind Loki for me just now.
Yeah, I like Loki. Loki was a strong start, but a shit finish.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is kind of slow, and it's just getting better and better, and I just hope it gets better. Because I always feel sorry for Hawkeye. He always gets a raw deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
it shows how shit and human he really is.
Yeah, it's just a normal guy. I think this is a better version of what they were trying to do with the Winter Soldier Falcon series. Like, it's the normal kind of ass kicker people. But then I'll say there were several problems that the Winter Soldier Falcon had that wasn't their fault that they had to deal with, mainly COVID. But yeah, Hawkeye so far, and the fact that it's also like a New York one. It is New York, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's based in New York. Yeah, New York one. opens up lots of avenues for crossovers and all that sort.
Since old Kevin Feige's already announced that Charlie Cox is Daredevil.
Oh, I'm glad that he was awesome as Daredevil.
He was good as Daredevil, yeah.
And if you know who Echo is, if you read the background on that, you'll know who's coming in as well.
Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, there's some major hints of where it's going, which has me excited. So yeah, I'll stick with Marvel. What I've watched, I finally went out and I went to saw Eternals. And now I think about it, I need to talk about my cinema experience. So I went to not to my usual Cineworld. I went to a different Cineworld. It's if you know Glasgow, where I am, it's the one in the Forge shopping centre. I don't know if you guys have been to that one. Yeah. So we go in. And I'm used to going to like the big Cineworld with all the fancy stuff and the super screen and all that. And we go in and the trailers are playing, and honestly, it's like a television screen on the wall is playing the trailers. And I like the back row, so we're the back seat in the whole place, and I can barely see what is happening on this screen here. And I'm like, I've not spent a lot of money, obviously. I've got my Cineworld card, so it's no skin off my nose really to go and see it again somewhere else. But yeah, really wide. Watched a few trailers of films I hadn't seen before, and I'm quite like, look at these. I can't really see what's happening. But then it's the old-fashioned ones when the main film comes on, it goes,
oh yeah,
and it took absolutely ages because it went from the tiny little box to like a proper screen, still smaller than normal, but yeah. And it's one of them old cinemas where the seats creak when you move backwards and forwards. There was a combined.
When it looks like a proper theater with like really high walls and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was like, we're screen 2. Right, okay. Screen 2 we were in. And yeah, there were 5 people in the screen, including me and Jade. So there were 3 others. And I think exactly halfway through, the 2 that were in there, they left. So there was 3 of us left watching this film. I know it's not brand new, but there was only 3 of us in there getting through there. And Eternals, I give it a solid thumbs in the middle. Like, it doesn't reinvent like the genre or anything like that. I believe it's the second longest MCU film, behind only Endgame, because Endgame sneaks over 3 hours, but I think this is even longer than Infinity War. But it doesn't feel like it. Yeah.
I don't think I can rewatch it again.
Well, that's when the first. Immediately, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Who are these people? It flashes back in Eternals to explain who these people are. And then from then on, I'm like, just show me what's happening now. Stop going, and it keeps going back in time to show bits and pieces. And I'm like, I'm not interested in that anymore. Just show me what's happening. And then by the end, the last hour was pretty good of Eternals. I quite like.
You see what I mean about how like every single time they talk to a character, though, they say the name and it gets really annoying halfway through the film.
Yeah. There's still some I don't know their names.
No,
but yeah,
they're trying to drive it home.
Yeah, I don't think Richard Madden. I don't think he's in a scene with someone directly calling him Icarus. You can't do this, Icarus. You have to do that. It's like, all right, I know he's Icarus, and I've already forgotten. I know Thena. That's Angelina Jolie. I know her name, and then everybody else I don't know. And Sprite, the kid one.
Yeah,
definitely nominated for 2021's most annoying kid in a movie. She did my head in. She's one of those little kids where, in the beginning, she's annoying. And then the more that the stuff happens, she gets more annoying. And then she's annoying to the point where it causes an effect on the rest of them, as in she's a negative effect on the team and the good of the film. And that's annoying. And at the end of the film, they forgive her and let her have what she wants at the end. And I'm like, no, it's her fault that stuff happened. Stop letting these annoying kids get away with it. So, yeah, that's the
problem. It was every time Angelina Jolie was on the screen going, she's hot. Like, film. She's hot.
She's a really good role, actually. I really like. I can see why she wanted to do the character because she's not in it a lot, but the actual role she plays is pretty interesting. So, yes, and yeah, it's still weird watching an actual kind of Scottish guy play a Scottish person in a film. Richard Madden, it felt a bit funny. His acting isn't best all the time, and he had some wooden scenes where his accent, I think, hurt him a little bit. But yeah, that was my big watch of the week. I finally went and watched Eternals, so I'm now up to date, but for one episode of Hawkeye with the MCU. We better crack on. Too much talk about other stuff. Point 1 on the podcast this week. What is the point of the episode? The point is the 1988 action thriller Die Hard, brought to us by 20th Century Fox, who have given us Alien, Cocoon, Office Space, and nearly every second film we've done in the last years. Also, the Gordon Company, who did Waterworld, and Silver Pictures, who did Demolition Man. We're all laughing. For those who can't see, Andy just sneezed, and it was very funny, so we all started laughing at this.
I took a COVID test for the podcast again.
Again! Oh, for God's sake. So much for doing a socially distanced podcast. You're still doing double test. Yes, so Waterworld Demolition Man, they were also made by the same production companies that made this. Die Hard, if you didn't know, bizarrely is based on a novel. Based on the novel Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorpe. And he's only really movie famous for inventing Die Hard. Like, he didn't write anything beyond the novel that then became the first film. But yeah, he's the Die Hard novelist, as it were. The film was written by Jeb Stewart, who's written things such as Die Hard and then Lock Up, Another 48 Hours, The Fugitive, and Just Cause. That is the film Just Cause, not the games, I don't think. And then Stephen E. D'Souza, he at least came in late on to help rewrite it to make it better. And we've definitely had Steve on before. He's written 48 Hours, Commando, The Running Man, Die Hard 1 and 2, The Flintstones, Beverly Hills Cop 3, which always comes up. Every episode, someone is involved in Beverly Hills Cop 3 specifically. Stephen D'Souza also did Street Fighter, Judge Dredd, and Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life.
This guy.
So, yeah, we've hit him. I think he must be the writer we've hit the most in our podcast, which shows you early 90s action is quite heavily a crutch that we lean on. The film was directed by John McTiernan, who we've definitely done before as well, but his highs are Predator, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October, Last Action Hero, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and Rollerball, the 2002 version. He did a whole bunch of action films in kind of 80s and 90s, and then that's pretty much it. He kind of retired on that because they were so famous and so big. Die Hard stars Bruce Willis. You may have heard of him. He's done a few more Die Hards after doing this one. And we've also done him a few times, so I won't dwell too long on Bruce's CV. He did Moonlighting before Die Hard. That was kind of what made him famous. And then he legendarily got paid $5 million to be in Die Hard, which was a huge amount at the time for someone who wasn't a movie star or even an action guy to be in the first Die Hard. Then he made all the rest. Other things he's famous for: Pulp Fiction, Sixth Sense, and about 20 other things you can think of. But yeah, he is one of the movie stars. Co-starring with Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman. This was his movie breakout. He'd only ever starred in stage things, be it stage itself or stage filmed to be shown on television. But the two producers that made Die Hard saw Alan Rickman in a play and were like, that's our Hans Gruber, we'll cast him as Hans Gruber. So he was cast in this. And he went on to do very, very big things, with being in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Dogma, Galaxy Quest, which came up recently as well. I think it was last episode. Love Actually, Since It's Christmas, Sweeney Todd, and then of course he is Snape in the Harry Potter series, in like 100 of those films he was in as well. And yeah, he's kind of like he's not quite Sean Bean levels, but he doesn't always last to the end of the films he's in. Does Alan Rickman? And he's a top villain. Is Mr. Rickman. I focused on the two of them. Next cast was the actress that played Holly, but she didn't really do an awful lot outside of Die Hard either. So I stuck with the two of them. So on to the numbers. On a budget of $28 million, I don't know if that includes the $5 million that went to Bruce Willis or not, but $28 million. Die Hard opened in the US on first weekend, $600,000, which... They did. They got a bit worried and they changed posters. They took his face off of things, took his name off of things, and to try and change, I don't know, the perspective of what the film was. Final US gross, $84 million. So yeah, it worked. Yeah. Final worldwide gross, $141.5 million. So not quite as much abroad as it did in the US. And that is something we've noticed, isn't it? The 80s and 90s films make a lot of money in America and then a bit more the rest of the world. Nowadays, it's a bit in America and more than half is the rest of the world. Released, this lovely, famous Christmas movie, Die Hard, released 20th of July, 1988. Which, it quite clearly is a Christmas film. It's about Christmas, it's at Christmas. But yeah, it came out in July that year.
I love the argument that this film causes.
Yes.
This was bangers all the way through as well.
I have tracked it for the stats later on. I noted down every time Christmas came up or was significant in the film to provide more evidence that it is a Christmas film. So the 1989 award season for Die Hard, it got 4 nominations at the 1989 Oscars.
Yes,
it was nominated for Best Sound, but it lost to Bird, a biopic of the jazz musician Charlie Parker.
Nope.
And then it was nominated for Best Film Editing, Best Sound Effects Editing, and Best Visual Effects, and it lost all of those to Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Bullshit.
That's a good film, though.
It is. I feel like it's quite strange comparing this to the visual effects of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's not like a clear comparison between the two. They're both good in their own way. In terms of other major award ceremonies, nothing for Die Hard, including the Saturn Awards. No mention at the Saturn Awards either. So I think we've finally broken the Saturn.
That's the one thing that you get it into.
Yeah. I guess it's not sci-fi or fantasy. It's essentially realism based. I guess. Well, take that for what you wish. Yes, it did win. It won 5 awards, though. Die Hard. It won a couple others, but those things were it had music in it. Here's an award, or it came out in the cinema. Here's an award. But the actual 5 things that it won: 1, Best Sound Effect Editing. Of course, that was at the Motion Picture Sound Editors Awards, so that's the best of the editing. And it won 4 awards that were all essentially the same award at different awards ceremonies 4 times. In 1989, Die Hard won Best Foreign Language Film, all of which were in Japan.
There's not like a Japanese spoken in this film.
Well, I don't know, is there? Because there is, so obviously it's... Mr. Takagi is the guy who runs it. I don't know if he speaks any Japanese, but yeah, this was in Japan. This was a big film, to the point where it won lots of best foreign language films in Japan. So there you go. It's successful in Japan, which makes me think, I wonder why they never did like a sequel over there, unless they did and I haven't seen it yet. Unless Die Hard 7's there or something. I don't know.
No, Russia.
Right. Well, there we go. I've not seen that. I think that's the one I've not seen. And that's it for the awards. Not much else. The people in Japan loved it, apparently, is what we can say. Synopsis of Die Hard. A new contributor, none of the old favourites there. So Ridley, I don't believe it's Ridley Scott. Ridley has written a synopsis for us. John Mclean is a cop from New York City who is on his way to Los Angeles to see his kids and his wife Holly, who moved to LA because of a job at the Nakatomi Corporation. When he arrives at Nakatomi Plaza, he meets Holly's boss, Joe Takagi, and her co-worker, Harry Ellis. He and Holly go into a private bathroom and get into an argument. When Holly leaves to give a speech, 13 armed terrorists led by Hans Gruber seize control of the building and take the occupants of the 30th floor, who are the only ones left in the building, hostage. Luckily, they missed John, and he has to figure out how to save the hostages before the terrorists get their way. I thought it was going to be the whole film the way it was going there for a while. Andy selected this film. Andy, if for any reason outside of your theme, why did you pick Die Hard?
It's Christmas film.
Easy.
I thought it would bring up a good argument on the podcast to see whether this is a Christmas film or not.
I feel like we might all be arguing the same case against people we cannot hear arguing the opposite argument back.
Yeah, but everybody that says it's not a Christmas film is wrong, so we just slag them off and they can't even talk.
Your opinion is invalid if you think that.
Exactly.
I think all of us will have easily seen this probably 5 times before, if not more. I think 5's maybe where I am.
Can I be before you ask?
ITV, yep. Hold on, I was going to say which channel, but it's ITV.
Oh, yeah.
It's another one where you get the Die Hard. We'll be back after these adverts comes up.
Yeah.
And any special versions, I watched it on Disney Plus. I don't know, that actually come up during the week. It wasn't available after the last episode, and it appeared before I watched it. So
yeah, I watched it on Disney as well. I should have watched it on DVDs though. So I think it's like a
Ultra 4K version.
Is there any special editions out there, or is it just the one that's
I don't think so. This one just looks shinier with the explosions.
Of course, yeah. Okay, then we better go on to point 2. Point 2 is the high points. What we thought the best bits and things were of the film. Andy, you picked this one. You start off with some high points.
The Christmas theme. It's such a good Christmas film. Like, that's a high point right there. It's Christmassy. It's feel good. It's got explosions, which look like lights for Christmas. It lights up the plaza like a Christmas tree. It's brilliant.
Like a Christmas tree. The brightest lights on top, like on your Christmas tree, and a star on the top.
you could. I think it's a Christmas film, but you could just take the Christmas trees out and the music out, and it's a perfect film all year round.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
now.
It came out in July. Yeah, it's definitely it works any time of year. It's not too in your face with the Christmas that it's watchable in, I don't know, May, whenever as far away as possible from Christmas. So yeah, I think it does a good job of establishing that it is Christmas without doing that as well. Like you you get the feeling, okay, it feels like it is at Christmas. Obviously, Christmas in LA, I guess, is different to what we have over here. I don't think you get a hell of a lot of snow in LA, but yeah, I think I cannot disagree with your first high point, Andy. It's Christmasness is good.
Christmas is going to be my theme all the way through these things, by the way.
Right. You're in the spirit, are you?
Yep. 2 weeks before Christmas, recording this.
Well, I'll go for a proper one. Like,
I got
I
gas.
like that. I like that. There's actually the bad guys are actually bad. Like, there's no hesitation in their actions. Like, in other films, it's like, no, let's capture him and give him an excuse to escape. No, if they're like, I'll give you to the count to 3. There will not be a 4. Bang, you're dead.
Yeah, I like
actually
a bad
proper bad
through.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Because Hans Gruber is faced with, like, it's 3 times he's essentially faced with somebody, and then it's like they either do or don't do what he does or doesn't want to do, and then shoots them, like I say, without any hesitation. I also feel like nowadays you would have the one bad guy on the team who's not as bad as the others, and then helps the good guy. But this is a squadron of 13 or whatever it is. They're all villains. They're all in it for the money, and none of them are turning and switching sides.
But the guy, the brother that has the great jumper on, when he's trying to catch John, he shoots before he goes around the corner. He's like, if he was there, that's it. He's dead. He's not waiting. I'm going, hands up. He's like,
imagine that to a high point. These are bad guys that actually have basically it's a foolproof plan. Other than John. If John Mclean wasn't there, they had done this perfectly.
Yeah,
like,
that's coming up later on.
This is definitely a best plan nominee. Like, it is a completely unexpected item in the bagging area that has cost them this. Like, they would not think, oh, there's going to be this amazing New York police cop in the building. But if he hadn't been there, yes, you're right. They've got all the bonds and got away with. Although I'm still not exactly sure what their escape plan was exactly, but I'm sure we'll come to that.
Chris is right. It's like, like walking around the corner, shoot first, because that never happens in films. They're always like, oh wait, there is no hesitation in these bad guys. They know what the hell they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think their plan was they were going to take the helicopters, get them on the top of the thing, blow them up, and then escape down the bottom in the truck.
Yeah, in the kind of
ambulance.
Foolproof. I guess the fire department ambulance, so they're going to escape in that. Everyone's going to assume they were dead because it had blown up, and then pretend to be. I don't know how they're going to get. Well, I don't know. It's one of these. It's another one of these plans in these movies where you don't know how many of the team the boss man was intending to survive. Like, I feel like he might, like the Joker's plan at the beginning of Dark Knight, where they're robbing the bank, but it's just the Joker that's going to leave alive at the end. I kind of feel Hans Gruber's kind of going that way as well, where they'd all be.
I feel like he was going to sacrifice the ones that weren't German. He seemed to have a good affinity with the blonde hair, the 2 blonde guys.
Yeah,
I think he's going to keep them alive, and the guy that was cracking the safe. He seemed to have a good friendship with him. Well, without him, it wouldn't have happened. So,
well, exactly. Yeah, he's like the expert. The rest of them are just little violent, dangerous people. Whereas the actual safe cracker guy, he's a specialist. My first high point, I found it early going. I was like, okay, I like what's happening, but nothing's standing out to me. This is a great bit. It's just like, here's John arriving, and here's the party happening. So the actual first high point I've got is the villains arriving.
Yep.
The 2 of them coming into the lobby in the first place with their good distraction plan of catching the guy unawares. And then the van opening up, the team coming out, and then the camera does the shot that sweeps in. And, here's Hans Gruber. Now, I think the first time in this film, here's a guy you've never seen in any film before. This Alan Rickman fella. Who is he? The camera zooms right into his face and then follows him back as he walks in with a purpose, sort of thing. It's like, okay, this is the main man here. I need to pay attention to him. It's a really good introduction, I think. So I don't think we have the pointy award for best entrance anymore, but I think I've nominated Alan Rickman as best entrance.
I'm sure Andy's ready. You can nominate him for it.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, like, I don't think it's an award, but like the MVP in this film for me was the safecracker. I can't remember his name. Is it Theo?
Yeah. Theo.
He was great.
Yeah.
Like, he stole the scene anytime he was in it, I thought.
He stood out more to me than he had in any time I watched it previously. And like, he seemed to have a lot of bits to his, like, the rest of them are just have your gun and make sure nobody does anything. Whereas he has to do the lobby bit, get in, crack the system, get his drill thing, wherever that was from, get it down, get through 7 bloody layers of a vault or whatever like that, then go back, get the ambulance van out the truck, and all that. He had a lot to do. Yeah, he was pulling a lot of weight.
See, my bad guy of choice, and this watch was Al Long, or whatever it's called, the Chinese dude.
Leon.
Yeah. He's coming up later on again for something.
Yeah, I was just like, my focus randomly was like, he's jumping around doing the wiring, and then suddenly he's eating chocolate bars and all that. Dude, right out.
Yeah, I did like that. It was like a natural little moment where you're doing this evil, bad stuff that you're doing, but a whole bunch of candy bars you can just have. No one's going to care that there's little 4 chocolate bars and that's in Instagram.
Like that wasn't the scene, and we just did it for like shits and giggles, and they're just like, "We'll keep that in," because that is evil.
That is definitely possible, because in my research that I've done for Die Hard, is pretty much they were writing the script as the film was happening.
Yep.
And there are scenes that are improvised because they didn't have a script for the scene, but they knew they had to do it. Specifically, the big one is, I believe, when John Mclean first meets Hans Gruber, and Gruber pretends to be American. There was no script for that, so they knew what roles they were playing, and then they just played that whatever came to mind.
That point actually puts me on my other kind of high point, like knowing that, like even before like you know that, but like knowing it actually makes my next point even better. Is obviously they didn't have a script, right, and they added loads of shit in. However, the one thing I like about this film is every single little MacGuffin thing they add in all has a proper part. So like even just the guy's throwaway line about when you get there, take your shoes off and ball your feet up, that then plays a massive part about him running around barefoot.
Yeah.
The fake, the shitty Rolex when he doesn't actually show it, but in the end it comes out. Every single part, it's almost like they had the perfect script. And it just everything adds up to be like perfect.
Yeah, there's a small period. I'll wait till low points for this. There's a small period that kind of differs, but you do feel like every scene has a purpose throughout, and it's not all just here's an explosion, here's someone getting killed, and here's a joke. Like there are actual important bits, like you say. My next high point is just the "now I have a machine gun" ho 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 bit. I really like that. To me, that's one of the definitive things to come out of this film is just that because that's the first, and it's essentially him introducing himself to the baddies, and it's quite a good way to. You know nothing about me except I've killed one of your team and I have a machine gun now. It's got a good, I don't know, intimidation tactic from John Mclean. But yeah, that was my next high point.
Even John's smart. Like he's a real smart cop. He's hiding up there. He's taking note of everybody's there, how many bad guys there are. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, Hans, underline. He's the guy." He's a clever cop. He's going to be the most clever cop we've had yet.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's so far behind on all his paperwork back in New York. Whatever, 6 months behind or something like that, locking up people. He should be getting ahead of it. It's probably all these flights to LA that's doing it.
My actual next high point is my bit, the "Welcome to the Party, Pal." And like as Powell's getting into the car, and you're like looking at it, going, "What the hell is that?" And then splat, this body comes flying through the window.
I'd forgotten it was a body. Because there was something else in the room that looked like he was going to throw that. Was it a chair, maybe, or something like that? Was he breaking the window?
The chair through the window.
Yeah, I was expecting the chair to come down, and I forgot it was the body that lands. So yeah, it caught me off guard. I'm not sure where it comes in relation to that. I don't know if Andy's got another high point before, but I just got John Mclean.
It's throughout the film again.
All right,
Argan. Absolutely. He has got the best taste in music ever. Just, it's amazing.
And it's like oh, carry on. I was going to say, I feel like he's got a strange role in the film. As in, I think 3 times I forgot he even existed, and then you cut back again. It's the guy's still down there.
That's a good thing about it, though. You sit there going, "Oh yeah, that's what you go." Oh, I forgot about him stuck in the thing. You're not getting out. You're just listening to music.
But I still
first introduction where he's like, he got this massive limo, and then just John sits up the front as well, and he's just like, he's cool with it. Put the teddy in the back. Yeah. Put on Christmas banger. It's brilliant.
Excuse me.
I'm not sure how Argyle knew that it was time to come out. Like he stayed in that parking garage the entire time, and then like the whole building explodes and all that, and he's still in the parking garage. And everyone, and it isn't until the very end where like John Mclean is walking out, he then drives his limousine through the door, like on the way out again. I guess he's got his CB radio and he could be listening to what the police are saying. But I feel like he might have been more useful coming out beforehand. Because if he'd done that, then the police just could have got in that door. Like I guess it's quite strange. He had a strange plot line, Argyle, but yeah, I enjoyed it when he came into it, and of course him knocking out Theo at the end, and actually a hands-on had involvement in the plan as well. Yeah, my next high point, I've just got John Mclean in events. It's one of the most famous images from the film is him kind of crawling, but the bit where he climbs down and then he kind of swings over and all that. I don't know how famous it is, but that the stuntman actually missed what he was supposed to do, but they kept it in and then cut around it to make it look kind of more intense, more scary than when he fell down. And then him just complaining, "Oh, come out to LA, have a few laughs," and all that. Around that point, you finally get this is who John Mclean is. And at the end, you have the baddie with the gun poking all the way along, building up the tension. And then he just misses him and goes away in Hollywood fashion. It's a good scene, him stuck in the vent above his,
it's
above
like
his
a
head.
shot-for-shot scene of Fifth Element later on, because Gary Oldman does that.
Yeah,
He does.
Bruce Willis loves a vent.
Do you know what I loved about this film was the fact that John and Hans don't meet until like I don't know, must be like an hour and 45 minutes into the film.
I've got the exact minute coming up later. So.
All right. It doesn't happen very often that the bad guy. Although Bruce Willis did do it again with Gary Oldman and then what's it called, Fifth Element.
Fifth Element, yeah.
They don't actually meet in that film either.
Yeah,
I've got to say, yeah.
But
yeah,
again, it's clever how he works it out, like who he's talking to.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'll ask questions about how he works it out later on. I think that'll come up. But yeah, it is good keeping it. I don't know if this would be the first. Like my entire plot history of movies is not spot on when they came out, but I feel like this is one of the earliest films I've seen where you have big bad and big good, and they work their way to each other. He's trying to stop him, and he's trying to get to him, and they never ever cross once until the time that they do. It's a good plot thread. I've got a few others. Andy, have you got any other high points?
Explosions.
Playing to type here.
There's a lot of good explosions in this film done really well. Like, if you're watching on YouTube, the model behind you, that's a model. It does not look like, and it looks absolutely like amazing and real.
Yeah,
it just works.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Carry on.
Oh, I was just gonna say I can't argue with that at all. The explosions are good. There's one that looks a bit special effecty that was a bit iffy, but the majority, I would say 90% of them, does look like. And that is obviously, famously, that is again what happened. Like they filmed it at a building that 20th Century Fox owned, one of their own offices that was still being built or being refurbished, something like that. And then in the middle of LA, they actually blew up the top of the building. And
oh really?
Yeah, and they were flying helicopters down the streets and all that, and then they got pulled off.
Yeah, they got absolutely fucking done for it because it apparently wasn't meant to be like half the size of the explosion and all that, and people actually thought it was a proper terrorist attack on buildings.
So that's why this shot behind me again on the YouTube is a model, because they did it with the actual building. Like, right, no, we'll stop there. Yeah, we'll do models. What else have you got then, Chris?
The one that you mentioned before, the fact that as John's beating up the German guy, he's like, "I'm going to cook you and I'm going to fucking eat you." I never heard that until this viewing, and it cracks me up.
Yeah, I think it was the most I laughed. Like, normally I got good giggles here and there, but yeah, it was the hardest laugh I got. I'll bash through a few of my later on ones that I've got then. So I've got the negotiation between Ellis and Hans.
Oh yeah.
That Ellis is never in control of at any point whatsoever.
Hans Gruber.
Yeah, and then Mclean getting involved as well, and him just being like, "You're a complete idiot. Just deny," and him being, "Oh no, I've got it, John. Don't you worry." Yeah, and then again, that's one where Hans just kills him when he's done with him. I've got the scene where Mclean actually finds Hans Gruber. I like Gruber decides, like, boom, he doesn't know me exactly, which is it's close. There's a couple of times where John is peering through into rooms, and you would maybe connect it. Yeah. So I think but it was a good gamble by Hans to try and get away with it.
Although his Berkeley accent disappears halfway through it, and he starts.
Yes.
Well, I say German, British.
Well, yeah, he's a Englishman playing a German playing an American, and yeah, I can't tell if is it bad, therefore it's good because he's playing like a third level of an accent. Like, why would necessarily a German's American accent be good? So, or if it's so like it's kind of see-through, like about the second, because we know, but if you actually listen closely, you can hear. I think any normal person would work out that's the same person's voice, because he has heard him in the same room. It wasn't like he'd only heard him on the radio. When he kills Takagi, John's listening to him through the wall or whatever, so he does actually know what he sounds like as well. But I like the idea, and then the looking at the names was a good idea, and Hans is already one step ahead as he knows one of the names. I like that as well. So it was a good scene. And then I've got my last high point is the hose pipe jump that is behind Andy on his video. It's just a good scene. I like that stunt. It's a very good stunt. I like the idea, and I also like going to the next level of he's successfully done it, and then the hose thing comes down after him and then begins to take him out as well. Yeah. I like going that extra stage beyond it is always good.
My last high point's the final scene with the gun on the back. What a scene!
Oh yeah, I forgot about that actually.
Yeah, I was the same. I couldn't remember how he got out of it. I remember him looking at the sticky, when he looked at the sticky tape and got all excited. I'm like, I cannot remember what he does with the sticky tape. So I'm glad it got there in the end.
Well, mine is going to be the iconic ending of him. Like Andy's already mentioned it with the watch strap, which got mentioned and never got talked about again. And then him like bringing the gun up to actually just shoot somebody, but then falling. Fun fact: they told Hans he was going to drop on 3 and dropped them on 1, and that's why he's like, ugh. The panic.
Yeah, he wasn't falling where it looks like he was falling, but he was still falling quite a high height to the point where the fear did set in. Well. Yeah, and then the actual stunt man, I'm assuming, who does fall from a great height outside, drops a hell of a long way. Like I'm assuming it's an actual guy. It didn't look like a dummy like we had in the Three Amigos, but the distance that the stuntman falls for the stunt itself is a huge distance. So yeah, I miss Hollywood stunts being things like that.
Yeah, good old days when they didn't CGI a guy falling off a building. They just made a big crash full of boxes.
Yeah. Is that us for high points then?
That's me. Yeah.
So.
Cool, we'll crack on with point number 3. Point 3 is the low points. What we thought the worst and least good things were of the film. My first low point is as soon as John Mclean arrives at Nakatomi Tower, Plaza, whatever you call it now, I think it's reasonably early, so I'll go first. So he's like, I'm here to meet Holly Mclean, he says at that point. And so the dude's like, push the buttons and all that. Beep, bop, oh, not there. Beep, bop, oh, it's on him now. Oh, God, okay. And the guy's like, level 30. They're the only ones left in the building. Go over there. Can you not have started and said, who are you looking for? Right, level 30 is the only one here. Or they here? But no, John had to go through the whole system. So I just annoyed me at the guy.
I would do if I was that guy.
Yeah.
I'd totally bellend.
Yeah. So, yeah, it really annoyed that they had to go through the whole rigmarole pushing all the buttons. And, there's the only ones left in the building. So if you hate to see them.
That's where it was a plot point of, she's changed her name so that Hans can't actually work out who it is straight away. Yeah. Which actually brings us to my low point. Ellis.
Yep.
Like he's almost the worst bellend throughout. However, the one redeeming fact is he doesn't drop Holly in it at all. Like I can give the guy props, but he's just he's a prick. He's on the cocaine. He's just like
he's sleazing on Holly.
Yeah.
Rubbing it in John's face, ask about the watch, or show him the watch. Look how much it is. It's Rolex. I bet you can't afford a Rolex.
It's just I hate him more than Hans Gruber.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
My first low point, is Argyle when he's actually driving John to the airport. He's an overly chatty guy, and I don't like that if I'm in a taxi with somebody.
Yep.
It's John's fault for not sitting in the back, but
yeah, I suppose. But yeah, I guess he kind of bonds them initially, doesn't he? When they meet, it's like, this is my first day, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, I've never been in a limo before, so like, let's do it together.
Yeah, but yeah, if you're sitting there and this guy's diving into your history, going, "Are you married?" Yeah. I know what happened here. Your wife moved out here. She got a better job than you. You didn't want to move out because you got your own job, and now your marriage is on the rocks. And you're like, all right, Jesus Christ, man, that's what wife you're talking about.
Yeah, he digs too deep, doesn't he? Really?
Yeah.
It goes a bit far with it. Yeah, I can't argue. So I have no low points for about an hour and a half of the film. All my low points kind of come near the end. So if anyone's got any sort of middling low points, go for it.
Points. Mine's just kind of Hans Gruber's voice. Like you've kind of mentioned it. It does annoy me that he's playing a German, British, then goes into American. But no matter what voice he's doing, it sounds the same.
Yep.
And it almost. But when one of the plot points says he's on a radio, you don't know who he is. It kind of ruins it a slight.
He has a very distinctive voice.
Yes, he does.
Anybody could tell who he was. Yeah. But the fact that his German wasn't German, it was just English with every now and again a slight Und.
Change a vowel here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the accent wasn't the best, but then in its own way, it kind of makes the character its own thing. Like it's
Yeah, it
kind
could be the
of
fact that he's just learned English that well that he's got no German left. I mean, it happens.
tough to replicate the character, so it makes him a unique character in the terms of movies. Yeah, because it's a very special accent. Any other middlings, or will I go with my near the end ones? So-
My only other low point, I'll just get mine out of the way, is idiot police officers.
Yeah.
Like,
The police I think were pretty good.
Well, it seems
The
to be the
FBI
higher up you go, the less of a clue they had. There's poor Al at the bottom, where I shouldn't even be out the house or out the office. I should be out, and then I'm on top of this whole situation, and then every time another senior person comes in, they make more of an arse of it until I don't remember the bizarre FBI cowboys coming in. I just don't remember them at all.
I vaguely remember them coming in and just doing it, but it's what was it? Like, you've got a guy in there who says he's a cop, and they're like, he could just be one of the bad guys, just pulling your leg, and you're just like, well, what? Just treat it as if he's not.
Yeah, it's like either you go one way or the other. You're like, all right, yeah, I've thought about it, and we've worked it out, and we can work out who he is, and he's not, or we're like, definitively work out he's trying to screw with us here, and they're just like, shut up, stop talking, I'll go over there, go mind your own business, go home if you want. But yeah, the weird sniping I was in Nam Special Agent Johnson guy, I do not remember him at all. Like, I obviously it's not in it very long, but that is one plot thread I'd probably just take out. Like, if I didn't need another set of this is our crime scene now, I didn't need another set of that I would maybe remove. So yeah, my one of my three were the FBI. So you've hit one of mine. Another one, they wasted far too many bullets shooting the glass. Because even if they couldn't have been much more successful than what they did, like they would only accidentally shoot Mclean because they were trying to hit the glass. So they put glass everywhere, and he still just ran away. So in terms of the amount of bullets, they must have emptied every gun they had, because it went on for about a minute straight, just shooting things, just blowing up the set. And then it's like, oh, this will stop him moving. Oh no, it hasn't. He's gone, and we don't know where he is. And then they lose him. It's like, what a waste of time.
The amount of bullets they wasted, spraying bullets at him through the whole film. I mean, they only hit him once, I think.
There was a bad bit on the roof where he was just running around. There's not a massive roof, just running around, and they're like, shooting everything but him around, chasing around in a circle. And then the sneaky, tall, blonde-haired guy goes across the top, and I'm like, how is he going to get out of this? And he's just terrible at shooting as well, despite having the jump on him.
It's like a hole as soon as it shoots. Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah. So yeah, it was effective, very, very ineffective there. And my final one, I can't believe no one's mentioned it yet. I did not really know about this until I watched essentially a behind-the-scenes documentary on this, the Netflix one on Die Hard. They have a massive plot hole in Die Hard that they knew of and then just went with it, which is the van ambulance problem they have, where the van pulls up at the beginning with the bad guys, and then they all walk out the back of it.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the way through the film, they drive an ambulance out of the back of the van that wasn't in there at the beginning. And I was like, that's a massive problem. Like, if they had some way created some sort of bit where our main man, who's doing the safe, can jump into the van before the police arrive and then come back in the van or something like that, and then we now know, why is he gone away and then come back again? There's this mystery. And it turns out the escape car's in it. But the fact that they actually discovered when they were editing the films, like, how that can't work. That was empty before we've got a scene, and they just went, nobody will notice. It'll be fine. And then just went, it's quite a big problem.
Right. Nobody cares.
Yeah. So yeah, it still works as a film, but it's such a great plan they have, because it's not actually possible. The great plan that they have, and that's it. That's my final low point. Not too many.
I've got one. It's not a low point, but I did find it funny how you talked about it before when they're shooting a glass, and Hans goes, "Schießt den Finster," and he's like, "What?" They're like, "You're supposed to be German, and you speak German here." Oh, shoot the glass.
Oh, right. Yeah. Why did the German guy not understand German for once?
That's not like my favourite German phrase is "Schießt den Finster." All because of this film.
Very good. That's for Lowe's and Andy. Have you got any final low points?
I'm done.
That's right, we better crack on with the stats then. I feel like we're running a bit behind time, but my timer's not working. Here we go. Stats. Shits. Shits 16. I thought it was quite low. Expected it to be more. 41 F-bombs ones up though. Yeah, there was a lot of F in
I forgot it was an F-bomb film. I thought it was just like, I don't know, like a 12.
There's nothing, like, until the shit hits the fan, there's no swearing at all, really. And then all of a sudden, John Mclean just starts, let's rip, and every sentence. I'm assuming it's when the script ran out and the improvisation began, they probably just started swearing all the time. But I think it's more natural, because you kind of would if you're running around and there's terrorists in the building, you wouldn't be on your best behaviour. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Especially when you're running through glass. Explosions, 41. Roughly, it's quite some of the scenes are quite difficult, and I didn't count.
Lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. Well, I think what's behind me. That's more than one explosion. No, because there's every so often there's like a whoosh and a whoosh.
Explodes, the building explodes.
Yes. And then like every film since I've started doing explosions, I have now discovered that every film when they have an explosion, they always include more than one shot of the same explosion. Yeah. So if something goes boom, you never just get like a boom in a film. It's always a boom and a boom boom of the same one. It's like, well, they're all technically different explosions in the context of watching a film. It's another explosion. Yeah, 41, but I've probably missed some. Deaths. I've got 18. Because everybody on the bad guy team dies and they kill a few hostages and all that, but I think pretty much everybody else gets away okay. I don't think there's any sort of stray bullets get anyone, but 18, and you can just about count them as they go when you watch it. Quotas. It's just about another shutout, I think, of the quotas. Unless I miss a dead animal or some variety, but I think every animal that was in the film survived. No cows, no goats. Surprisingly, no peeing. I thought at one point John Mclean was going to pee at some point. I felt like he was going to do that.
I would do.
Exactly, yeah. And he was in the bathroom, but he was just kind of washing up after his flight, so maybe he peed in there. But none of the villains were a paedophile, the devil, or the KKK, so we're okay from that. So, I will stopwatch out. Time until Alan Rickman actually speaks in the film. It's 25 minutes. He shows up about 10 minutes before that, but he doesn't speak for ages. Time until John Mclean comes face to face with Hans Gruber. What was your guess, Chris?
An hour and 35.
Oh, 91 minutes is just about on the button, almost to the second. 91 minutes until John Mclean meets our main villain. So Christmas. This is a Christmas film. I think we're all in agreement. We've not actually even debated it because we all think it's a Christmas film. 16 direct references to it being a Christmas film are, excuse me. When John Mclean gets off his plane, the airline wishes all the passengers a Merry Christmas. That doesn't happen in a non-Christmas film. Immediately, jingly music I've got, which again feels Christmassy. I counted it as one thing, but every scene has Christmas decorations in it. Even like some of the empty bits of the building that they're in have like a Santa or a Christmas tree. So there's Christmas decorations everywhere. It's set at a Christmas party in the building. Like, it's a Christmas party that's going on. That's why everyone's getting together, is for a Christmas party. It's on Christmas Eve. This is another one. In the limousine, as Andy mentioned, there's Christmas music. It may be Run DMC, but that's still Christmas music. John McClane whistles Jingle Bells at one point. You only do that at Christmas. A drunk guy wishes John McClane a Merry Christmas with a kiss at the party. So that's still quite early on still. So the rest of the film, the Santa hat, I've got a machine gun, ho 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 stuff, only happens in a Christmas film. We don't do that in a Christmas film. Al is singing Let It Snow as he wanders around the wee shop. That's more Christmassy as well. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas gets quoted and played and all that in the film as well. That's another Christmas thing. Gruber references Christmas when discussing the vault. He mentions like some sort of Christmas saying when they're cracking into the vault. Again, someone's graffitied Merry Christmas, or at least Merry Christ, on the top of the building at some point, which it seems like a strange thing to just write on the top of the building regardless of what's going on, but someone's graffitied that. There's a pile of gifts next to some Christmas sticky tape towards the end of the film. The film ends on the song Let It Snow, and the theme of the film itself is being with your family at Christmas. And that definitively is why this has to be a Christmas film, because the film is about going and being with your family on Christmas. And how is that not a Christmas film if that is not the theme of the film?
Yep. Christmas film.
Yep.
16 different things like I listed.
Anybody wants to argue it's not a Christmas film, go fuck yourself.
And they say Christmas 8 times. So the thing that they say Christmas 8 times in the film, which doesn't seem like an awful lot, but there might be some lyrics and songs that maybe they mention as well. I didn't count. But do they say the thing? Do they say Die Hard in the film?
No.
They don't, because it was just a name that they came up with because they thought it sounded good. Which I'm still not actually sure what Die Hard means. Like, I feel like
I saw a lot of translations, and there's one that is well off. It's like long night something, I don't know, big or whatever it is. And it's made no sense whatsoever.
I feel like it doesn't. Die Hard next to the words Die Hard in encyclopedia will just be the film, not an actual literal explanation of what it means. I think so. This is Die Hard. That's the words Die Hard together means this film series rather than actually meaning anything else. So it's his own thing. Andy, most pornographic scene. I'll come back to you, Chris. Because I realised I skipped you, but Andy, most pornographic scene.
Well, there was a few titties in this film. Which always needs to get a lot of mention, but it's not pornographic enough. That explosion with a helicopter, it was beautiful.
It is a proper orgasm, like.
And if you've been watching the YouTube video, you've just watched it for like an hour on repeat.
I can still use it, and now it's so good. It's all.
So Chris, I skipped you just a little brain malfunction there. So Chris, your stats.
I didn't really do much because before I started watching the film, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do all the Christmas things. And then as I started watching it, I just watched the film. I never counted anything because it was just enjoyed it not much. But I did count that the most famous phrase in the whole film is only said twice. Yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah. That's one to Gruber and one by Gruber, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was it.
Yeah.
That was because I remember that fact from years ago. I didn't have to count anything.
Does it become a catchphrase? Like, does he say it more in the other films? Or
I think so.
Right, okay. Because I know he does say
it.
Yeah. On to point 5 then, 10-point podcast quiz. Okay. I have some questions for you. Sort of fill in the blanks questions, actually. A little Die Hard reference for you here. A little twist on. Put it this way, it's the same quiz as always, but I've done it in a format that went with a line from the film. So fill in the blanks. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first since I can't actually.
And again, I don't know what's easy and what's hard. I just write the questions as they come up in the film. So Andy, fill in the blanks. The first thing that we see in the film is blank.
Plane.
Yeah, a plane landing is the first thing that we see in the film. There we go, which is a nice little teaser for Die Hard 2, which is like about an airport, I thought. Chris, your first question. The secret to air travel is blank.
When
Doesn't have to
you
be exact.
get off the plane, you get to the hotel, you take your socks, your shoes off, and you make fists with your feet.
That's almost spot on. When you get to where you're going, make fists with your feet on a rug, essentially, is what it was. So
doesn't help you when you're on the plane, though.
No, it doesn't. No. Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. It seems to John Mclean has a eureka moment later on when he does it, so it must do something. But yeah, I don't have to know the science behind
anything.
Andy, your second question. Holly Gennaro, that's your surname, Gennaro, holds the position of blank in the Nakatomi Corporation. What is her position? And again, you can be kind of
answer. Office slut.
I think it was.
Totally was. She was definitely banging the Japanese dude and Ellis.
Takagi.
She was. Oh fuck! I forgot now my joke answer. Executive of something.
Yeah, you've got of, right? Of is in there. It was on her door to her office. That's where I got it. So,
I can't remember.
She was director of corporate affairs, which actually does sound like a made-up job when you think about it. It does sound like, we'll give her a job over there, director of corporate affairs or something.
Office life.
Maybe. Okay. Chris, your second fill in the blank. What Hans Gruber is interested in is blank.
Is the $460 million of bonds, variable bonds or something like that, that's in the vault?
He got the number wrong, Andy. Would you give him a point despite him getting the number wrong?
No, because he didn't say untraceable bearer bonds either.
Well, it was $640 million worth of negotiable bearer bonds locked in the vault. That's what it was. So unlucky. You got the right number. Did you say 460?
No, I said 460.
Yeah, so it was the other way around, 640. So still 1-1. Andy, dispatcher says, attention whoever you are, this is the channel reserved for emergency calls only. John Mclean replies, blank.
Am I ordering a fucking pizza, lady?
Essentially, yes, I'll give you that one. No fucking shit, lady. Does it sound like I'm ordering a pizza? So yes, a point to Andy. Chris.
Oh, I know
Al pops into a gas station. He buys roughly a dozen blank.
Twinkies.
Twinkies, correct. He buys a dozen Twinkies. And they're not for him, they're for his pregnant wife, if I remember correctly. So 2-2, one question each. I don't have a tiebreaker. Andy, send backup. They turned my car into blank.
Pancake.
Oh, not a bad guess. It was Swiss cheese, like Chris says. They turned my car. They shot a whole bunch of holes in it. So, Chris, to win the quiz, fill in the blank. When Hans Gruber is pretending to be a Nakatomi employee, he says his name is blank.
Oh, Bill Clay.
Bill Clay is the correct answer. Chris gets 3 out of 4 right to win the quiz this week. And that probably, maybe, settles you the season, I think. I don't know if it's as close as that, but we'll find out on the pointies who won the season 4 quiz. But yes, that was fill in the blanks. There we go.
I was waiting for the quote of him in the air duct. For life, I can't remember it.
What come out to the coast? We'll get together. We'll have a good time. Or something.
Yeah.
It may have been on my mind when he was saying it, but I did not. Right, point 6 on 10 Point Podcast. Movies within movies. The parodies and references that I picked up in this one, I had to do a little bit of research. I had to cheat a little bit. So they mentioned John Wayne. Now, he's in lots of cowboy films. And then the Gary Cooper, Grace Kelly, John Wayne argument that they have about when he says, that was Gary Cooper, you idiot, or something like that. That's from High Noon, specifically the film they're referencing there. And they mentioned Rambo in the same sort of arguments. And then Marshall Dillon was the main character in Gunsmoke, which is a TV show rather than a film. But they're when they have the movies discussion at the beginning. And then Roy Rogers is from the Roy Rogers and Somebody Evans show. Again, it's not the kind of cowboy sort of thing. But other than that, Singing in the Rain, Theo hums the song as he's up to no good at the beginning. But that itself is a reference to Singing in the Rain, but also a reference to Clockwork Orange, where they do bad stuff. Malcolm, whatever his name is, whose name escapes me now,
McDonald.
The guy from McDonald. He does evil to whistling Singing in the Rain as well. And that's it in terms of movies and movies, because it was actually something like The Towering Inferno, which is also a tall building that ends up on fire and all that sort of stuff. This film itself is parodied in about 100 million things. This is one of those ones, like Alien, where everything after it came at that point where everything just copied it afterwards. So my last thing, my never not good, is a film set in one building, as it were. Isn't exactly in one building, but I think I was trying to track it. I believe there's never 2 consecutive scenes that are outside Nakatomi Plaza. I think it's always, if we do go to the gas station, it's straight back to the building again, or if we go to the Mcclane's house, it's straight back. We never go from one to the other and then back to see what John's doing. So I think this is as good a one building film as you can find where it's all set in the one place. Chris, what have you got for movies and movies?
I've got Bruce Willis, but I forgot to add in what he's been in. So if nobody serves me right, it should be what's it called? Beavis and Butthead Do America.
That's what you forgot last time, yes.
Yeah. Fifth Element, Expendables, and Look Who's Talking.
And that's all I got. I think it is just those. This is now his 5th appearance.
I just got Bruce Willis, and I was like, bugger. Okay.
Well, it works, you remember.
Yeah, so Andy's mentioned before, Al Leon. He was a henchman eating chocolate. He was in The Last Action Hero.
Uncredited, but he was in it, yes.
Yeah.
I think he was I believe he might have been in one of the films that were in Last Action Hero. I think.
Yeah, he's one of the guys throwing the bombs into the back of the seat.
Right.
Yeah.
Robert Davi was one of the Fratellis in the Goonies.
He was Jake Fratelli. I'm watching this, I'm thinking, what is he from? I could not place him. I had to look after them. What have we done? Oh, it was the Goonies he was in.
You know what? It's Stargate that jumps into my head for anything else.
He has one of them faces. He really has one of them. You're in everything I've ever seen, but it turns out he's in, I don't know, maybe 1 in 100 things I've seen.
The city worker, Rick DeCommon, he was in the film that I always forget, The Burbs. And he was in Last Action Hero as well.
Yeah, he was the last Action Hero. He was uncredited, I think, as well, wasn't he? In that? But yeah, he was like art. He was like second main guy in The Burbs, and he's just like down a manhole. I think he was the one in the manhole in Die Hard. I
had to leave this guy for last. The MVP of season 4, Grand Eldish, once again pops up. I'm sure this is film number 4. Street Fighter, Forrest Gump, and Demolition Man.
Yep, he's. I think we never go 3 episodes without him appearing at this point.
Yeah.
I think.
Like this is the 3rd time he's been in one of Andy's films.
Chantel said he's only done like 60 films. At least 8 of ours.
Oh, for you to pick him 3 times in a season, that is impressive. Like,
I know,
you
twice in a row as well. He
And the
popped
fact
up
is he's-
after Street Fighter then Forrest Gump.
and he's not in the Expendables either. And they actually had 2 themes this season: the Expendables and Grandel Bush films. Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I gave up about that. I gave up about Rick Ducommun in the cast because I wasn't going any further beyond that.
I picked him because I've recognised his face as mostly from Scary Movie, but I've seen him in something else.
The
And obviously it's the Burbs.
giving you a pass. There was one other guy who played Cop in this, who also played Cop, also in Last Action Hero, and I was like, I'm sick of seeing Last Action Hero turning up because
Yeah, I'm not
If it-
one of the people that just walk past the screen.
exactly. So yeah, there's probably others that showed up in that. There's a lot of Ghostbusters crossover as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah.
1 and 2, and then Die Hard 1 and 2 as well. Andy, have you recast anybody?
Right.
Oh,
I'll try.
hang on. Chris recast first. I'm reading all my notes wrong. I've got everything
Right,
written
so I'll
down.
spell
I
it.
keep skipping things. So Chris, you go first.
Well, I put you as Hans Gruber.
I did as well.
I made Andy John Mclean.
I did as well.
I put myself as Al Young, just
Yeah.
sitting there eating chocolate, just watching the world go by.
Oh no, I had you as Al, the guy helping. I thought
Yeah.
would be good. You can eat the chocolate if you want. But yeah, I don't know why. Every film we ever do, it's always like Andy's the villain. But for some reason, Hans Gruber and me, I don't know what the connection is. Yeah, I think I'm Hans Gruber. Yeah, so I can argue. Andy, on to you. So apologies again. What have you recast? Or who?
I was trying to think of who else was huge around this time to make it like a decent recasting. So, surprise, I'm going to take Bruce Willis out,
God,
put Warwick Davis in.
he was
That's
huge,
just
was
really
he?
popped up the other day on Facebook.
Oh, Star Wars just came out. He'd be like proper A-lister out there, being an Ewok.
It would make the vent scene, I don't know, different, I guess.
I just think it'd be brilliant.
You know what? That is a comedy that writes itself.
I think so. I think
That would
Warwick
be
is off
brilliant.
quite easily. It would change the whole dynamic of this film, just that one actor.
Should maybe try pitching it to him at some point. I'm sure he'd want to do it.
I'm sure we've
Right
written
then.
4 movies during this podcast.
Yeah, I know. We'll just come up with ideas. They'll be paying us soon. Honestly, they'll be paying us for ideas. Andy, point 7 is your trigger warning on the podcast. Alert everyone who enters here. Andy is going to trigger somebody here.
Right, I'll do it quickly. Terrorists. Do you remember when terrorists were around? Now they don't exist.
Mhm.
But, like, they used to kill people, they used to blow shit up, they used to suicide themselves. Now we've got bellends gluing themselves to fucking roads instead, and they're
No, I was
terrorists.
just going to say it. Now they're eco-terrorists.
Like, they are more dangerous than the ones that blow themselves up. Because at least when they blow themselves up, they're gone. If you glue your face to a road, you can come back because your skin will grow back. I don't like it.
The
don't like
if you're being especially cynical, you could say that there are no more terrorists causing terror because they have nothing to rebel against, which may imply that the people who want to do the bad things are already the ones who get to decide what happens anyway. So that could be one aspect of why there's, and also COVID. I imagine it's tough to be a terrorist when there's a pandemic going. I don't know.
Yeah, because you can't fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a COVID test. It's really hard to
Uh,
smuggle a shoe bomb or whatever in a plane now if they're going to shove a thing up your nose.
Yeah, I can't lead it up your nose. Yeah. Right, we better crack on because we are running over time for, I don't know, about the 10th episode in a row. So, point 8 is our nominations for the Pointy Awards. I'll come to you, Andy. Do you want to go first? Because sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Nah, I'll just say yes to your list.
You'll mop up at the end.
I've
Okay.
got a few.
Right, on you go. Lead off, Chris.
Right, I've gone for worst accent is Alan Rickman's German British accent because it's just his normal speaking voice.
Agreed.
But I have gone for him as best bad guy because he just kills with hesitation. He is, and he's a smart guy. He's literally the worst guy there. Although technically Ellis is a dick, so.
We do have worst villain, so we could maybe put Ellis as worst villain.
Ellis,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he was as big as bellend because he just did a bellend.
He's the biggest bellend, actually, yeah.
Well, so I've got best bellend as being the award, which would be Alan Rickman because he is the best at being a bellend. So I don't know. The villains, there's a lot of crossover here. I don't know. Somewhere or another else will get mentioned.
Good luck with you in the next couple of weeks. But My worst cops is the entire police force other than Powell and John Mclean.
Yeah. I went FBI, specifically the FBI guys.
I concede that. They just do exactly what you want them to do. My best death is, I'm kind of cheating kindly because he was already dead, but the guy that gets lobbed into Powell's car.
Yeah,
I guess because you kind of watch it, you're just like, what the fuck is that? And then splat. You're like, oh yeah.
Because my best death was the opposite. My best death was the chain choking fight with the "I'm going to kill you, cook you, and eat you." It doesn't actually kill him with that death. So it's weird. So I don't know. Hans Gruber, is that not like an all timer of a death?
That's my favorite death.
I think it maybe has to be that. When you
I
think
can
about
see
it.
that. I like the one that splats the car.
Yeah.
My best plan is Gruber's entire plan, because if it wasn't for the fly in the ointment,
It was false. Even out a magic changing vehicle. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
He used his Snape powers.
Yes, impossibly good.
My worst plan was John taking his shoes off, because it was just a disaster. And finally,
he did say it was working when he was like, "Oh my god, it does work." Yeah, so I don't know.
Finally, I've gone for best quote is "Welcome to the party, pal." Because I can't say it without doing like John Mclean now.
Okay,
it's good, but
I'm going to say I wasn't going to argue, but yeah, Yippee-ki-yay, Mother Hubbard as well. I got. So it's so ones that you've not mentioned. So best entrance, Hans Gruber, if I still got that award, and I think it was kind of cool the way he came in. Bruce Willis, best acting. I thought he was really good. He carries his half of the film. He's on his own. Like everybody else is everyone to act with. He fights with a guy and then is on his own for a while. So I think he's pretty good. And
I'll give him that. Yeah, I forgot to put it in.
He's kind of funny. He's funny as well, and obviously invented a few quips here and there. The best fight is definitely the chain choking fight with the kill you cookie Anita. Best Jimmy, just the character Takagi is played by James Shigeta, so I had to get a best Jimmy in there. So Takagi's nominated for best Jimmy. You've done a worst accent. Best cop, John Mclean.
Yeah.
Possibly ever.
Yep.
Best stunt is either Alan Rickman's death, because we know what happened behind it, or to be more flashy, the hunt, the hose stunt out of the window or into the window.
I'll say that.
Yeah, maybe that would be a better stunt. Best bellend, I've gone for Alan Rickman, and then best hair, just Holly's hair is a belter of an 80s perm. Gigantic. When John sees it for the first time, I think he's just staring at her massive hair. So yeah, best hair. And that's me. Chris touched on a lot of my other ones. So Andy, anything else to clean up?
I don't think I've got anything else.
Yeah.
Nakatomi Tower.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
The actual building that they used. Yeah. Soundtrack's a bit iffy. I'm not sure. It's Christmassy, but
one song was a bit.
Yeah.
Shit.
I do quite like the soundtrack, but yeah, it changes too much from like nice classical Christmas music to Argyle just raving, and he's
yeah. So I think Run DMC just miss out on maybe getting nominated for best song. I think. Right on to point 9, the moral of the story. What we thought the lessons to be learned from the film, where I literally made mine up just as we're starting recording. So if you guys have got something prepared, you can go first.
I've got a little one. Well, I'll say a little one. Enjoy the little things in life. Because like John's in a hostage situation, a terrorist situation, but he still finds time to spend Christmas stew, and he puts a Christmas hat on a dead body, and lights, and writes, "I've now got a machine gun, ho ho ho." So enjoy the little things.
Yeah, there we go.
Andy, that situation.
Yeah.
My moral of the story is, don't be a terrorist. It's bad.
Yeah. You will lose. Maybe. I don't know. And my one that I came up with at the very end is Die Hard as a Christmas movie. That's my moral of the story.
That's the ultimate moral of the story.
Yeah. Most definitely. Right, 10th point on the 10-point podcast is a 10-point rating. Andy, you selected this film, so you get to rate it first. What have you given it?
Right, this film always comes up in like every film pretty much now, ever since Die Hard. And even this podcast was founded on, I have seen every single film since Die Hard.
Yep.
It's a feel-good Christmas film. I always put it on every Christmas. It's a film I actually watch more than anything else. The explosions are good. This is my first 10 out of 10 movie.
Hey, have we all given a 10 now? Did you give a 10 at some point, Chris?
I've given 2, I think.
You given 2? Yeah, I've given at least a 10 as well. So there we go.
This is as perfect as it gets in a film making. It's perfect, flawless film.
And that's it. The podcast's over. I finally got Andy to give a 10.
There we go. That may be never replicated. We now have to get a clean sweep, I think. I don't know. We'll find out at the Pointy Awards if anything's actually hit a 10, if you know what I'm saying. I think we might be an official rating of a 10. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, we've only given a 10, so now we need to try and find that one film that across the board is a 10. I'm not sure. I went alphabetical, so I've got me going second. I've not written any sort of quippy thing about it. It is as perfect a version of what it's trying to be as possible, and like I said with Alien, it's tough. If a film has been parodied literally 1,000 times since it came out, it's doing something right. So you have to give an extra bit to it because it was the first one like that, and it's very much its own thing. There's a lull. I forgot to mention earlier. There's a lull at one point, essentially when the news interviewer dude comes into it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't need this storyline, and they go and they pester the kids, which is annoying. And then there's this extra 15 minutes where not much is really happening, and they didn't really need it. It kind of killed it a bit for me. That's when it began to drift off a little bit, and that's when the phone came out, which was always a bad sign. But it did go away again for the last little chunk. So that little lull towards the end where I kind of lost interest, just knocked it down 1 point. So I'm only giving it a 9 out of 10 for Die Hard. It's still a very high rating, but it doesn't get a 10 for me, unfortunately. Which, when I checked back, is higher than what I reviewed it the last time I viewed it. So I very much rated it on this viewing very highly. I enjoyed it. Maybe because right near Christmas might have been the difference. So Chris, what are you giving it?
I agree with you for most things. Like there's a few slow bits, but the action brings it back quite quickly and makes up for it. I've mentioned this more than once. What makes it such a good film is that the bad guys are actually smart. They're not idiots, and everything's planned out meticulously. It would have worked if it wasn't for John Mclean. And I've got to agree, it's a brilliant Christmas film, and it gets my third 10 of the season.
Oh my god! If I'd only rated this a 10, we'd have been there. I'm not even thinking about it.
I don't like any other film more than this. So.
Well, either way,
alert.
The official rating is a 10 because obviously 2 10s and a 9, that makes it a 10. So
what
this
did
is
Forrest
a 10.
Gump get? No, Andy gave it a 7 or an 8, which is what dropped it down one.
Yeah, I gave it quite high. That was just about Andy's highest rating of the season was Forrest Gump when it happened. But yeah, I don't do a running table as we go throughout. I do all at the end so that I'm not at all shifted in any fashion. Like, I don't want it to be like something that I think is terrible is the best film of the season, so therefore I rate a film I like higher. So I like it all blind. So yeah, I need to watch this again at some point. I will let you know if I ever watch it again and I think it's a 10. But it's just something was missing. That's quite disappointing now that I've only rated this a 9. But yes, officially, the 10-point podcast have officially. Yeah,
it's my universe.
That is on the Andy grading technique of if there is a better version of the same thing, then personally, Die Hard with a Vengeance might be the one because I like it better. Yeah. So see if and when we get to it, because I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
Or Die Hard.
So yeah, Die Hard for something. It is something. I'll tell you.
I haven't seen the last one yet.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've not seen the Russian one. So that's it. 10 out of 10. I think it might be the first, but I can't exactly remember what Forrest Gump got. If not, it's one of the best films we've ever done. Shockingly,
first 10 out of 10.
It was a 10, right? So we've done 2 this season. So I'm not sure which one's better, but I think it might be Die Hard. Find out at the Pointy Awards, which is our next episode, is the season 4 Pointy Awards, which will be in about a month's time. It essentially is going to be our birthday episode. The podcast was born in January 2019. A fact, we made our podcast before the pandemic and before everybody had a podcast. So exactly. Our birthday celebration will be the Pointy of season 4.
Apple servers and do a little short mids thing.
That's it. Yeah, it was technically it was born at New Year, wasn't it? But yeah. The first recording was in January.
Every single time Grandel Bush is mentioned.
Oh Christ, I blurred in the first 10 minutes.
They'll soon run out, I'm sure. So that's it. We don't pick an episode, but a film to do next, because the next film is decided at the Pointies. So you all have a month to have a good Christmas and New Year and everything like that. And we will see you in January for the 10-Point Podcast Pointy Awards of Season 4.